Have you ever wondered how Europe got so rich after the Middle Ages were over and the Renaissance had begun? Well, it is because of the trade routes that were run by merchant ships from Western Europe to India and the East. These trade routes were first sought after by the Portuguese, who were seeking to expand their empire. They wanted to spread Christianity to West Africa, where they had been doing most of their trading with Muslim caravans. King Henry the Navigator, the King of Portugal, wanted to increase his revenue from his trading ventures, so he commissioned the building of a new empire in Africa. After Henry's death, John II took the throne. King John II saw an opportunity in the spice trade to gain a lot of money, so he dispatched his great sailors with the commands to find a sea route to India. Meanwhile, John II had sent spies through Egypt on land to India. In 1488, Bartholomew Diaz found the Cape of Good Hope, and upon discovering that the African coast continued to run south and then northeast, he returned to Portugal with the news. The gates of India had been found, now they needed to be opened. That's where Vasco de Gama comes in. The date of Vasco de Gama's birth is disputed, but generally it is either 1460 or 1469. De Gama was born in the village of Sines, Portugal. Vasco de Gama's father was Gustavo de Gama. He was a great shipman, and he was given the task of finding the route to India, but he died before he could finish his journey, so Manuel I gave Vasco de Gama the job. Vasco was given the job because he had been a great captain and warrior while fighting the French on the seas. Vasco de Gama left for his first voyage to India on July 8, 1497. He left with a fleet of 4 ships and a crew of about 180 men. Among the crew were some of Portugal's most famous navigators and fiercest men. De Gama followed the same route that Diaz had taken, and this led him to find the Cape of Good Hope in November. By then, De Gama had already traveled over 6,000 miles. Then on December 16, the fleet passed the spot where Diaz turned his ship around, and De Gama passed into the seas that no European had sailed before. De Gama first stopped in Mozambique, but he was met with hostility, and he soon left the city, firing his cannons as he departed. His next stop was in modern-day Kenya, but there he did not stay long either. In February, De Gama and his fleet came to the city of Malindi, where he acquired the services of a Muslim navigator who had familiarity with the monsoon winds of the Indian Ocean. Finally, on May 20, 1498, Vasco de Gama came to the port of Calicut, India, and so became the first European to traverse the many miles to India. De Gama sent many gifts to the king of the city, but the king was left unimpressed. Despite all this, De Gama made a profit of 3,000% the cost of his trip. De Gama was in a hurry to get back, and so he ignored the fact that the monsoon winds were still blowing across the Indian Ocean, and so it took over 100 days longer to get across the ocean. On his return trip, De Gama lost 2 ships and more than half his crew to scurvy. De Gama returned to Portugal in September 1499 and was received with great celebration and fanfare. He was given the title Admiral of the Indian Ocean and given many riches. De Gama returned to India twice more in his life. The second time he attacked the city of Calicut in order to expel all Muslims from the city. He also captured many Muslim merchant ships and raided them for riches. On his third trip, De Gama was already seen as a great fixer of problems in the Indies, and he was sent back to straighten out a few things. But shortly after arriving in Goa, India, he died of malaria, and his body was brought back to Portugal, where he was given a royal funeral. De Gama's work opened up the spice trade, which ran through Portugal. These trade routes ended up bringing many riches to the Portuguese. De Gama left behind a great legacy, and he is seen as a great hero in Portugal today.